The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Apatra, joined by my good buddy Keith Cork. It's Wednesday. We got 11 games to talk about. It's March 24th. We're going to be blazing through this. It's going to be a doozy of a slate, one that we're pretty excited to talk about. But Keith, it's always a week before we get to talk. How you been?
Pretty good, man. It's been a kind of an up and down week for me, but I'm excited for the trade deadline coming up. So a lot of exciting news coming down, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But pretty good, man.
Yeah, nothing like them to just really fill up the most amount of games that you could play right before the deadline, where it's everybody's trade rumored, and we got to be careful around here. But absolutely, I don't think there's a more exciting time in sports than around any trade deadline, let alone the NBA, where it's been getting a little bit more aggressive over the past few years. So I'm pretty excited about it as well. So we're going to jump right into things. But before we do, quick shout out to our presenting sponsors over at MyBookie. If you guys haven't already been over there, go check out mybookie.ag. Check out the number one sportsbook out there. Only sportsbook I trust. I give my stamp of approval for all of my NBA and sports betting needs. Whether you want to do some MLB season, we're only 2 weeks away from that opening pitch. We got some good old NBA on every single night, and then the wildness of March Madness. And you're getting, especially if you're looking over there at March Madness, you get some of these crazy, crazy lines that you can really take advantage of using MyBookie. And on top of that, they got a fully fledged casino platform with all of your table, games, slot machines, and betting needs. So head over to MyBookie, use that promo code HoopBall on your initial deposit over there, and they will match it 50% on up to $1,000. So you put in $500, they'll give you $250 for free. You put in $1,000, they give you $500 for free. Use that promo code HoopBall on your initial deposit. So we got some things to get into, man. It's going to be a doozy of a slate. A lot of things that we're going to have to monitor. And one thing I would always say right around the trade deadline, if you're not going to be there to monitor every single bit of news, maybe just dial it back just a hair, just for a day or two until we can see how things kind of shake out. But we'll jump right into this, man. Detroit Pistons traveling to Indiana, take on the Pacers. This is a 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. As far as the injury report goes for the Pistons, Hamidou Diallo, he is out dealing with that right groin strain. No timetable for his return. They announced today Killian Hayes, Rodney McGruder, Jahlil Okafor all out. Wayne Ellington is questionable. For the Pacers, Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner, both questionable. TJ Warren is still out. We do not have a game total for this. We do not have a spread. I will pass it over to you, my good friend. We'll start off with the Pistons. Who are we looking at?
For the Pistons, I think you can go to Jimmy Grant, 7,400. It's just a fair price. It's been his price pretty much all season. He's the guy there. He's going to do well, or he's not. Mostly, he's been doing well. He's been pretty consistent. So, not a guy I'm super excited about, but I think it's a fair price tag, just as it's always been. It's kind of a guy I kind of always mention, so I might as well mention him again. And then I also like Sadiq Bey at 5,800. I just think he had a kind of a bad game the last one out, but he is one of the guys they're looking forward to the future. He's one of the guys that they're going to really be trying to get more touches and get more minutes, and he's played 39, 32, 36 minutes the last 3 games. 5,800, he's going to get a bunch of shots up. The last game he shot 1 for 9. Don't think he shoots that poorly again against the Pacers. So I don't mind going to him at 5,800. But those are really the only 2 guys I'm looking at on the Pistons. How about you?
I can't fault you. I'm not really looking at much. Again, I always say with Jeremy Gray, he's just always right around that $7,400 price tag, which is fair. It's priced appropriately. We know his upside. He's going to have the high usage and all the good stuff to go with it. Just probably not a guy that 11 games. This game in general doesn't really gravitate off the page to me. If I'm looking at anybody, I'm going to keep an eye on that Wayne Ellington news. If he plays, the whole Frank Jackson at shooting guard experiment might pretty much be over. So keep an eye on that. But if he sits again, we could probably look at Frank Jackson at 3,900, a guy that's been playing some pretty consistent minutes. Doesn't offer much outside of scoring. But he's there, and if he's playing 26 to 30 minutes, we can look at him at 3,900. And funny thing about Sadiq Bey, rumor has it the Kings gave him a call. They said, "Hey, we'll swap a good old Marvin Bagley for him," and
yeah, click.
yeah, Troy Weaver just hung up that phone real quick. Let's slide over the Pacers side. Paying a top dog price, 9,400 for Domantas Sabonis. It's a great matchup for them. They just do not have the personnel. They might try to roll out Isaiah Stewart, and if they try to do that alongside of Plumlee, it's going to get very, very clogged up at the paint. But if Miles Turner happens to sit, Sabonis slides over to the center, more rebounds become available. It's a hefty price tag, but it's a good matchup. Push comes to shove, I don't think I'll be overexposed to him, but I won't be crossing him out of my player pool either. And then I'm just going to keep an eye on that Brogdon news. I think that's obviously the big thing that we need to monitor. If Brogdon sits, TJ McConnell at 5,900, he should just be handling all the point guard duties. And when he's playing point guard, man, the steals and assist floor this guy has, it just gives him a comfortable 30 DK point floor is what it feels like with some of those crazy near triple-double type upsides. And then you'd also see guys like Jeremy Lamb get a bump who, had a monster game in that last one. Feels like we'd be chasing if we go right back to it. But at 4,200, the shot attempt should be there for him off the bench.
Yeah, I can't blame you. I'm not chasing the Jeremy Lamb play personally, but it's 4,200. I mean, it's absolutely something you can have. And it's an option for you. I'm not looking at Domantas Sabonis too much at 9,400 because there's some other guys we'll talk about a little bit later that are more expensive. That I'm looking at a lot harder than him. Don't mind that play either. But the one guy I do have on here that you didn't mention is Karis LeVert, 6,600. I think he's starting to get his legs under him, starting to get some more minutes, and I don't mind paying this for. LeVert up against the Pistons. It's just a great matchup, and I think it's a guy that's probably going to have some low ownership. So I am looking at a little bit of LeVert at 6,600.
All right. Cannot blame you, but we'll keep it moving. For time's sake, man, we're going to have to keep an eye on it today. It's going to be a challenge. Denver Nuggets traveling to Toronto, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time game. There is no injury report for this game. Denver on the second half of back-to-back. And I believe we do actually, for some reason, they always do this to us. No injury report, but we have a spread. We have a game total. 224 game total. Denver favored by 1 in this one, which feels a little weird. Feels a little weird with that spread, man. But I'll let you decide on that. I'll let you start off with this Denver team. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I think the Denver they play tonight. That's a back-to-back. So, I don't know if I'm looking at Jokic. I don't mind the play at all. Jokic is a fine play anytime he's on the slate. But again, I think there's more expensive guys later on that we'll talk about that I'm higher on. So, not necessarily looking Jokic's way. You can play him. Jamal Murray at 7,300, though. I do like that price tag up against the Raptors, who struggle to guard guards anyways. So that's a fair price I feel for him. And Michael Porter Jr. at 6,900. I'll pay up for these guys against these Raptors because these Raptors have just been so bad. They've dropped 9 in a row, I think it was, and they're just not looking very good. So that 1 point spread does look a little fishy to me. I think it's just maybe because the Nuggets are on a back-to-back, but I think they probably beat them by more. I think they're just a way better team. So that's what I think.
Hey, I'm kind of right there with you. And yeah, these Raptors team did just lost to the Rockets. That should say enough right there. I mean, I don't know what else needs to be said. I'm not really looking at too much over here on Denver. I'm going to keep an eye on their shooting guard position. Monte Morris and Gary Harris, both these guys have been missing some time. If they both miss again tomorrow, we should see those minutes kind of trickle down to Campazzo and Dozier. I prefer Campazzo. So I'll take some stabs at him at 3,800. Don't mind him. You talked about Toronto's backcourt. Pretty lackluster. Campazzo's been one of their best perimeter defenders and just best one-on-one defenders. When you need somebody locked up, Campazzo, he seems like he's that guy for him. So knowing that they're going against a backcourt that is pretty prominent in their offense, wouldn't be surprised if he plays a little bit more than 20 minutes, 22 to 24. On the Toronto side of things, though, we'll slide over to there. We talked about those two guards, Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet. Simply put, man, I'm not playing Kyle Lowry until we know what's going on. I just waiting for that late scratch for some of these guys around the trade deadline. Not everybody in a rumor is going to get traded. I know that. But on 11 games, I feel like I just can go away from it if I want. I don't need to go there. So, and with how bad this Toronto team's been playing, like you said, it's going to be tough to want to pay up. We're paying premiums for all these guys, 81 for Lowry, 79 for VanVleet. It's what they're supposed to be priced at. Powell at 7K. I can go there, but it's a premium. So I don't think I'm pretty much going to have any exposure to any of these Toronto guys. I don't know. Am I wrong here?
No, I think you're pretty much spot on. I'm not too excited about these guys. I would look that way for GPPs. I think Pascal Siakam at 7,300 is an excellent price tag for a GPP play, for a guy that was we were seeing in the mid 8,000s earlier in the season. But he just got fined for cussing out Nick Nurse. I mean, things are not looking good over there. If I was to guess, it just feels like this environment is ripe for one of these guys to get traded. So yeah, it could be Lowry, could be Powell. Powell's on an expiring deal, so I'm just gonna steer clear because I don't even want to try to track all this stuff, all this nonsense. I would play some Fred VanVleet. I think he's safe. He's gonna stay there. He's gonna be in Toronto. He's the guy. 7,900. I don't mind paying that for him. I think it's a fair price tag. Not exactly excited about it, but I think it's okay. The other guy I think is an okay play and relatively safe is OG Anunoby at 5,500, but yeah, I'm not too excited about any of these guys, and I probably won't end up with any of them in my rosters, unless it's a GPP roster.
Yeah, I was spitballing some trade ideas with Santino today over the phone, and that Powell rumor to the Nets kind of popped up, and we're like, what can they do? It'd probably have to take a 3 or 4 team trade, but I can definitely see them trying to work Claxton in there. Toronto needs a big, and if Brooklyn has any faith they can sign one of Whiteside, Drummond, or Cousins, one of these guys, might make some sense for him. We'll slide on to the next game, though. I'm not a GM. Boston Celtics traveling to Milwaukee, take on the Bucks in this one. For the injury report, Romeo Langford, Tristan Thompson both ruled out. For the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable, as well as Bryn Forbes. NBA, Vegas lets us know that this game does not have a game total and does not have a spread. We'll start off with the Celtics. Kemba Walker sat out that last one. I'm pretty sure everybody flocked right to Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, and rightfully so. Those guys did not really disappoint us too much. But what can we look at with this team? Pretty much back to full health outside of Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, it's. I think you can definitely look at Jaylen Brown if Tatum sits for some reason. He was just dealing with an illness. I expect him to be back in this one. So I don't know if I like Tatum or Brown if they're both playing, but if Tatum does sit for some reason, then Brown at 8,300 is okay, obviously. But I still like Marcus Smart at the 5,900 price tag, even with those guys in. I just think it's a fair price tag. I think he can hit value there. And then the last guy is, like you said, Tristan Thompson. If he's out again, Daniel Tice looks like a solid play at 5,000. If he's in, I probably won't play Tice either. But this is another situation where I'm probably fading these guys. And I know it sounds like you're kind of being lazy in these early games, but I really don't like a lot of these early games. So I'm probably not playing a lot of Celtics.
Let's be lazy, man. I'm with it. I'm not touching Tatum. You said it. He's supposed to be playing through an illness. I'll pass. I don't want to play the guy unless we get that that flu game. But I'll let somebody else take their shots on it. And paying the premium against Jaylen Brown against a fully healthy Bucks team. I'm assuming Giannis plays, but we'll have to monitor that. And I'm with you. I don't mind spending down on the guys 5'9", 5K. Those are the two guys I'd look at. You can steer clear of Jeff Teague after that big game that he had with both Tatum and Kemba Walker out. That's not going to happen again. So I'll leave it there. And Robert Williams at 6K, just a little too rich for me. He's been playing phenomenal, though. You can't ignore Time Lord. Great point per minute guy. On the Bucks side of the ball, Giannis sits. I have no problem going back to the well on Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. We just know that the usage is going to get funneled right through these guys. And they're both going to be too cheap for what their output is normally with no Giannis. Both of these guys are averaging over 1.1 DK points per minute with him off the floor, touching on that 1.2 mark. So I have interest in both those guys. If Giannis sits, if Giannis plays, I'd probably only look at Holiday. Even then, it's, I like that 6,800 price tag that we're getting the other night. Still fair at 72. And again, we can still go right back to the well with Bobby Portis if Giannis sits as well. A little bit of a price bump in this one, up $1,200 compared to his last game when Giannis sat, but it's still the Boston Celtics. The size can easily get into that front court. What are you looking at over on Milwaukee?
Man, you touched exactly on what I'm looking at. I like Middleton. And I like Portis if Giannis sits. I don't mind the Drew Holiday the Drew Holiday call. Don't necessarily play him myself at that price tag, but it's not a bad call. It's a pretty good one. And then Giannis, if he plays, I'd look his way, but I like other guys later. So again, I'm probably fading the Bucks team too. So I guess I'm choosing nobody today and not going to play anybody. So there you go.
And you know what? That might be the better way to do it, because if your slate is starting at 8 p.m., that gives you an extra hour to kind of see what all this news is, what's breaking, what you're going to like in these later games. So not a bad strategy to take, my good friend Keith. I can't fault you there. You ready to move on to this next game?
I am ready. Let's do it.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Charlotte Hornets travel to Houston, take on the Rockets in this one. For the Hornets, LaMelo Ball is out. Cody Zeller's questionable. LaMelo just had that wrist surgery. They're saying he'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks, and it'll be determined on whether or not he's ruled out, has a chance to make a return. I'm still going to be a little skeptical on that point. It's probably going to just be determined, I guess, where the Hornets are at. For the Rockets, Dante Exum, Eric Gordon, David Nwaba all out. Kevin Porter Jr. is questionable. Victor Oladipo is all but traded. So just keep an eye on that. Writings on the wall. He is pretty much gone. Just got to find where. We'll start off with this Hornets team. I'll lead off here, and then I'll pass Houston to you. I'll give you the hard one, Keith. It's the benefit of being the host. You just can kind of spin it that way. I'm pretty much looking at these same guys with no LaMelo Ball. Just knowing that the usage is going to get funneled through Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier. It's going to be a little bit of, I wouldn't say a difficult matchup any way, shape, or form. Houston just bleeds points, but not the best one-on-one matchup, I guess, for Graham if he's going to be playing point guard going against John Wall. And it looks like John Wall has just been playing with a fire with how poorly this team has been playing. Now that Christian Wood's back on the floor, this team's probably going to be playing with a little bit more momentum. I'm hoping, unless they just get the call from the front office saying start losing, throw in the towel. But I'm going to be looking at Graham. I'm going to be looking at Rozier, and I'm going to be going right back to the Malik Monk at 4,300. These are the guys we expected to get the usage uptick, and we were not disappointed. Malik Monk, 27 minutes off the bench in that last one. But what we are wanting to see is those 15 shot attempts. Only 3,300 if he's taking 15 shots off the bench going against this Houston team. I got a lot of interest in him. So Monk's probably going to be my favorite option out of all three of these guys. And then outside of that, I don't mind looking at Graham and Rozier. I think they're both fantastic plays, both a little bit priced up from when we last played them, but still great options.
Yep, I am 100% right there with you, and I throw in some Gordon Hayward at 7,900 just because of the matchup, just because they're like you said, the Rockets bleed points. Hayward got up 19 shots the last game without having to compete with the LaMelo Ball for shots and for playing time and all that. So I don't mind going 7,900 for him. I think until he gets up to the low eights, mid eights around there, 8,300, 8,400, I'll probably be okay with playing Gordon Hayward.
All right. Why don't you break down the Rockets for us? We'll slide over to that side.
Yeah, you give me the easy one. I like it. No, it's I don't like too many of these Rockets, to be honest. It's a good point. I mean, Oladipo is not. I don't know if he plays. I don't know what's going on there. He's probably not playing. He's going to get traded. So John Wall 7,600. You got to look his way. It's a really, really fair price tag for him. He might be a really great. It might be my favorite play on the slate. I don't know, but outside of him, I'm not too interested in many other guys. I do like Denwell House Jr. at 4,900 though. This guy's been coming on lately. He's got the upside. He just hasn't. He wasn't playing at the beginning of the season, so he's had to get his legs under him. Had to get his game body back in shape, and I think he's finally getting there. And it's just too cheap for the guy, as he's got a pretty prominent role here in the offense. So I like Wall. I like House, but I don't think I'm touching any of these other guys, to be honest.
I'll be looking at Wall, and I think outside of that, it's just going to be the other top tier guy on this team, and it's Christian Wood. 8,100. I just think any center that has an offensive pulse rolling into Charlotte could just take advantage of the situation. And, the minutes cap, it's kind of there. They're saying it's there, but we just saw that he played 36 minutes against OKC. He got into a little bit of foul trouble in that last one where he only played 28, and then obviously they manhandled Toronto, so there's no real need to force it. Didn't even look, too aggressive on the glass or anything like that. But this is a great matchup. So 8,100, a guy that consistently early on in the season was just churning out 40-point games left and right with the upside of 50+. I'm cool with it. I'll take some stabs there. And like you said, not trusting Oladipo. And if we get the news that he sits and John Wall's at the lone wolf of this backcourt, sign me up at 7,600. I'm cool with that as well. Going to kind of steer clear of some of these ancillary guys. You might be able to, take another flyer, and it feels like you're kind of almost chasing that Jeremy Lamb game with Sterling Brown, shooting 7 of 10, grabbing 10 boards when Christian Wood only had 4. But if he draws the start again, if Oladipo sits at 4,500, again, he's an option. I'm not expecting anything near that sort of game, and I probably won't chase it. But there's worse things you can do.
I agree.
Next game. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Phoenix Suns traveling to Orlando take on the Magic in this one. Another team that is getting their name mentioned in just about every single trade rumor. No game total, no spread. And that's because we saw one of these teams play today. It's Suns. I did not play DFS today. Funny enough, took my first night off with no plans. And you know what it was for? I opened up so many packs of basketball cards with my buddies. We had it planned out. A bunch of grown men degenerates having this planned out for several weeks where we were just going to be little kids. So I took the night off and I just let it rip, man. I was having a good time. But
there you go.
we'll get back into this. No game total, no spread. Pass it over to you, Keith. We'll start with this Phoenix team. Again, man, we're getting all these wonderful games that I know you're dying to attack this one. So why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, man, it's a tough slate. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of the tougher ones in recent memory, to be honest. I think I don't know, maybe the last few months actually. I don't think I've seen a tougher slate. So this is a tough one to crack. But the Suns, man, I've been thinking a lot about the Suns. I think I can't remember exactly what the stat was, but they've had 8 players score 10 plus points or something like that. They broke a record of games consecutively that happened. What I'm saying is basically that they spread the wealth, right? Which is both a good thing and a bad thing for DFS. It's a good thing because what we can do is we can look at the value plays of the lower priced guys and try to get some value there because they're going to be getting more usage than they are in other teams, but it's a bad thing because obviously those top guys they don't necessarily get those shots. So as far as the Suns go, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the guys in the mid tier or lower, and I'm looking at DeAndre Ayton 5,800. That just seems way too low for a guy that has the capability. He has a huge ceiling. Is he going to hit it? I don't know. Does he have a tough matchup against Vucevic? Absolutely, but I still will take him at that price tag, and I think it's a fair price tag, obviously. And then I'm looking also at Mikal Bridges at 5,400. Again, another just fair price tag. He's been around this price this whole season, and I just think he hits value more often than not. So those are the 2 guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I can't fault you. And you said it perfectly. They do spread the wealth, and it's a good thing for the Phoenix Suns because they have the best record that they've had to start the season in how long. And it's because they finally have a team that they could do this, but they actually have some decent role players, fundamental players, and rotational players where there is not, Devin Booker doesn't need to go out there and drop, 70 points. It's not something that's in their tool belt. But DeAndre Ayton at 5,800, you touched on it. It's a fantastic price tag for this guy. He's having a great game as we speak. Is it the best matchup? No. But bottom line, if Orlando is going to be or Vucevic's going to be the driving force for Orlando, they're going to need to put their best defensive player on the court. And it's not like they have so many great options behind DeAndre Ayton defensively. Pretty much what they're looking at backup center-wise is, Dario Saric. They'll throw in some Frank Kaminsky here and there, but they just don't have a ton of other options. So, as long as he can stay out of foul trouble and he plays, I expect him to play 30-plus minutes if the game stays close. And at 5,800, he doesn't even need to play 30 minutes for him to really pay that off. It wouldn't be much more, but he can easily turn out a quick double-double with a block or two and get us that price tag back. So 5,800, I'm cool with him. Outside of him, it would be Dario Saric for me because, like I just said, if something happens to 8 and he gets into foul trouble, Saric is going to have to come onto the court and probably have his hands full, but he's going to need to play a fair amount. So at 4,300, I have some interest in both these guys. Orlando side of the ball, though, Vucevic, 9,600. Probably the only guy that we can feel pretty secure with saying he's going to be an Orlando Magic by season's end. Anybody else you have interest in on this side of the ball? Because it's pretty simple for me, man. I'm going to be taking a hard pass.
Yeah, this is another hard fade for me. That's like the 3 teams in a row now. But I can't even trust Vucevic because I just don't know how invested the Orlando Magic are going to be in winning this game. I don't know if you're watching the Nuggets Magic game tonight, but the Magic were down almost 30 points by halftime. I mean, they just they weren't engaged. They did come back and make it a little bit of a game, but I can't trust any of these guys. I just don't think they're really interested in playing basketball right now with each other. So hard pass on the Magic.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's guys we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but for all we know, there's locker rooms already packed up and. The guy's got this. He's got all of his gear. He's got his luggage case. He's ready to hop on the plane and go to a city in about 20 minutes. We generally don't know. Eric Gordon, Evan Fournier, both these guys are expected to be shopped pretty heavily. But we're probably doing a good thing by just crossing some of these games off. We turn an 11-game slate into a 6-game slate. It makes life a lot easier. You're dodging a lot of bullets and a lot of landmines when you just get these guys and get these players right out of your player pool right off the rip. So we'll keep it moving, though. Next game, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Cleveland Cavaliers traveling to Chicago, take on the Bulls. For the Bulls, Garrett Temple is questionable. For the Cavs, Matthew Dellavedova, Andre Drummond, Kevin Love, Taurean Prince, all ruled out. 218.5 game total. Chicago favored by 5.5 points. I feel like I should take Cleveland right here, Keith. I think that's only right. I'll be respectful. I won't dog you again on this one. For the Cavs, it's a great matchup anytime someone's traveling into Chicago. This we know. Where do we want to attack them? Pretty much do it anywhere, but I'll be doing it with mostly the backcourt. Colin Sexton, 7,400. We touched on a lot of high-priced guys, and we'll touch on even more. So, again, I know we're not going to be able to play all these guys, but I'll keep Sexton in my player pool just knowing that he's got that upside. Shot volume, it was down a little bit in that last game, but prior to that, it was 3 straight games with 20-plus shot attempts going against his backcourt. I don't mind taking some stabs out him. And outside of that, I don't mind going back to the Larry Nance Jr. well as we've been. It's just 6,200. You're pretty much paying that price tag, and we've been seeing a little bit more of the floor games. Is the ceiling game here? I think it's fully capable of getting one of those ceiling 40-point games in this one. It's just not something that we can bank on, so I'd really just lean on him in GPPs. I'll probably keep it with just those 2 guys. Wouldn't fault you if you wanted to play Jared Allen, but I've already touched on guys like Christian Wood for $500 more who I prefer.
Yeah, I'd actually be on Jared Allen myself more so than Christian Wood, even against my own team. I watched Gobert just put up 9 blocks against my bullies last game, and we're just weak at center right now, and we're gonna keep starting Thad Young and Wendell Carter Jr.'s.
Wait, what was that about, man? You guys were just attacking Gobert, and he was swatting flies at one point.
It was disgusting. It was a terrible game. I was not having fun watching that game, but it's all good, man. Like I say it all the time in the off air. It's like, we're not going to win a championship this year, so I just want to see people play well. We did not play well, so that's.
Let me ask you this then. So if you're the Bulls GM, he calls you up. He says, Keith, we're not winning this year. What's your main move? Who are you shopping first? Is it going to be because I was again, me and Santino talking trade, and one thing that I thought would be a nice little swap for him, maybe give Golden State a call and say, hey, we got this guy named Lauri Markkanen. I think he'd fit your system very well. Why don't you give us that guy Kelly Oubre that you don't want? Both of them kind of expiring. We might not have either one, but maybe the change of scenery helps both of us.
I like that. I like that. What I'm eyeing right now as a Bulls fan is a Markkanen for Lonzo Ball or for Brogdon swap. That's what I really want. I think the Bulls really want a point guard, which it's just been totally blatantly obvious that Kobe White can't handle the rock in the second unit. So we want a point guard or we want a rim protector. Those are the 2 biggest needs, I think, and I really think that we're on the phones trying to get that. And Lauri Markkanen has an expiring deal, and we are not. I've heard that we're close, quote unquote, on a extension with him, but we've been working on that all season and it hasn't happened yet. So I think Lauri's probably on his way out, and I think that's probably our biggest trade chip, and so I'm expecting that to happen, to be honest with you. So that's what I'd be looking for, and I'd be looking to get back. I'm hoping Ball. I'd love some Lonzo Ball here in Chicago. So, but we'll see about that. But anyways, going back to DFS for the Cavs, I like Jared Allen at 7,600. Like I said, against my bullies, I just think he's good. He's going to have a great game. And then I also add in there, I love Sexton too. The Sexton call's perfect, and obviously the Bulls backcourt struggles on defense. But I'd also throw in there Dean Wade at 3,700. He just has a solid role in the lineup right now, and I think Jetty Osman and Larry Nance Jr. are being shopped right now. I don't know if they're going to be shopped or shipped out, but if they do, Dean Wade can step into a bigger role, and he has a pretty solid role anyways, and a pretty solid floor. So I like him as just filler at 3,700.
If there's one player I feel like that is just, can withstand any sort of trade rumor and not have it affect him, it's got to be Larry Nance, because that dude's been every single trade deadline since he's been a rookie. He's been involved in the rumors, but I'm cool with that. On Chicago side of the ball, I'm pretty simple for me here, man. I'm looking at a couple of the same guys. I can't go near Markkanen. I can't go near Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, even when these guys are playing, they both just look like they got, the yips. I don't know, baseball reference, but when Chuck Knobloch couldn't throw to first base from second base, it kind of just like these guys just look shell-shocked, man, out there. They look like if they're afraid to move. So I can't go near either one of these guys, especially, knowing that they're probably the 2 first guys getting shopped, if anything, out of there. So I can't touch either one of these. I don't mind Zach LaVine at 8,500. That price tag's starting to dip more and more. I want to see it just drop $100 to $200 more, and I can just feel like so comfortable smashing it in. But it's still a fantastic matchup. Everything that we said about Chicago's backcourt, we can say the same things about Cleveland's. Outside of that, I think I'll be looking at some Thad Young, just for all the reasons I said how I can't trust, Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. Well, Thad Young is probably the only thing that is dependable near this front court at this point. So at 6,400, it's not a great price tag, but he's been churning out that pretty much past 4 games. So I don't mind taking some stabs at him here.
Yeah, he's a solid guy to go to. So I don't mind Thad Young. I'm more interested in Zach LaVine at 8,500, like you said, just because of the weak backcourt he's up against, and I think he's just due for another big game. And then the other guy I'd throw in there as more of a GPP play is Daniel Gafford at 3,000. He's a basement floor pricing. He's getting minutes, and if they need help guarding Jared Allen and Wendell Carter Jr. just seems to get injured every stinking game for some reason. Gafford's been, climbing back in and playing 10, 15 minutes. So if he can get up to 20 minutes at 3,000, I like him a lot. He's really been playing with like a fire's been lit in the room too, where he's been in there. So that's my GPP play for the Bulls.
All right, we'll keep it moving. Another 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Memphis Grizzlies travel to OKC. They're taking out the Thunder. For the Grizzlies, just Jaren Jackson Jr. Santino would say, right around the corner. This poor guy, man. He's one of my favorite young players. I just want this guy to get back on the court. For OKC, Darius Bazley, Josh Hall, George Hill, and we're not even going to give Myers Leonard the credence. He's not on the team, but they're all out. And as far as a game total and a spread, we do not have one. So I'll pass it over to you, Keith. This Memphis Grizzlies team. This is going to be an exciting team.
Yeah, a lot to like here. I mean, this is going to be an exciting game. I think you can find a lot of value here. The Grizzlies and the Thunder, they're both pretty subpar teams, so those are games that are just ripe for the picking for GPPs especially. But I like Jonas Valanciunas at 7,700. I mean, this is just a rock solid guy. It's a rock solid price, and I don't see Moses Brown or Isaiah Roby doing a lot to stop him. I mean, I just think he's just going to crush that. Morant,
well, hold on. I'm going to cut you off real quick, Keith, because I mentioned the injury report, but I didn't mention the big news is that Al Horford's not on it. Yeah. So
that is correct, actually.
Who knows?
Yes. And I forgot, and I actually did look at this before I even considered that, but I don't know if he plays. I mean, like
who knows?
It's
just, what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you have to keep an eye in there. I'm just kind of rolling out there as if he's not playing. I mean, the dude rested 5 out of the last 6 games, and I think the last update I said was world's most well rested man, which is a very accurate statement because he's rested every single game, it seems like, and I just don't think they have any interest in playing him. So I'm rolling like he's not playing, but he could very well play. And if Horford is playing, then maybe I don't play JV, but I just don't know. But John Morant, 7,500. I do like him also. Just because of the opponent here, the Thunder. They're just a team that bleeds points, as we always say. And then the other guy I like is Grayson Allen, who I've been playing a lot in my GPPs at 4,000. He's quietly had over 30 minutes in the last 2 games, and much to the chagrin of the DeAnthony Melton crowd that wants him to play, which includes me actually. I want Melton to play, but Grayson Allen seems to be getting those minutes, and if he's getting those minutes at $4,000, I like that salary a lot.
I've been riding the Grayson Allen bandwagon. I feel like, and I'm glad. I hate the guy. I hate the player. Yeah. But just the fact that, like you said, this dude, when they like him, they want to play him. I don't know what it is, but whenever he's healthy, they want to give him at least 26 minutes. So the fact that he's been playing 30 the past 2 games, I have a ton of interest in him at 4K. He's probably one of my favorite, I guess, guards. I think we mentioned a few, probably cheaper than 4,200. Probably the favorite one that we mentioned so far out of those guys. And then I'll be looking at the top dogs outside of him, John Morant, Jonas Valanciunas. Both these guys have played well in the matchup. These 2 teams have played twice already this season, and they both hit their value pretty easily. John Morant's averaging about 43 DK points in 34 minutes against his team in 2 meetings, and Jonas Valanciunas is pretty much right there with him. 28 minutes, 43.5 DK points average. So I think you can play both those guys. They both have, even if Horford plays, Valanciunas is just a great point per minute guy. We don't need him to play more than 30. If he does, fantastic. We're probably looking at the cherry on top. On the other side of the ball, OKC. Horford plays. Not playing him. Horford sits. We can definitely look at these other guys. Moses Brown. It's a little bit more of a difficult matchup than he's pretty much been getting. Cat, we've actually seen centers that do pretty fairly well against. And then before that, it was Houston. And then we're talking about the other monster game before that. It was Chicago. Now, yeah, I'm not saying that Memphis isn't vulnerable. You can easily take advantage of them. But Jonas Valanciunas isn't necessarily a pushover center that, he broke a dude's wrist earlier this season just because he hung on the rim too long. That should just say enough. He will mess you up. But we're going to have to keep an eye on a lot of this stuff. With Darius Bazley back or still out, what it looks like, I think we can go right back to Pokemon. That's Alexiv Pokusevsky. If I can ever get that name right, I apologize. Lou Dort is expected to return in this one as well. So we're kind of just going to have to see what kind of starting lineup they decide to roll out, and if Horford is in, if Horford's out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I had a fair amount of shares of him in that last one at 8,300. I was feeling good about it. This one, you could play him. I don't fault you. It's just if Horford's in there, some of that usage is going to go there. Some of it's going to go to Dort. He's not going to have the same amount of shot attempts, most likely, in this one that he did in the last one. So, long story short, man, I want to see the starting lineup. And I'll probably be looking at Pokemon right now as my number one option. And even then, he's kind of tough to love if Horford comes back.
Yeah, I'm actually exactly right there with you. I got Moses Brown, Roby, and Pokusevsky. If Horford plays, obviously you don't play Moses Brown or Roby. I think Roby's the better GPP pivot. Moses Brown's the better cash guy. And that's, again, if Horford's out. But, Alexei Pokusevsky, man, I'm on that bandwagon. I snagged him in my season-long league, and I'm happy he's getting run because the Thunder are just tanking, and they're letting him learn on the job, and I'm there for it, man. He's huge potential, I think, in the future, and big ceiling here for DFS purposes. He's got blocks and rebounds and points, and he does all of it. So 5,200, it's a good price for him. I think he's more of a GPP play still, though. So probably not playing any of these guys in cash, except for Moses Brown if Horford sits.
All right, we'll keep it moving then. Another 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Dallas Mavericks travel to Minnesota. They're taking on the Timberwolves in this one. For Dallas, Willie Cauley-Stein, Tyrell Terry ruled out. For the Timberwolves, Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell ruled out, while Jordan McLaughlin is questionable in this one. 229 game total. Dallas is favored by 8 points right here. So this is one of the higher game totals that we have actually released to us at the moment. So I'll pass it over to you. Why don't you touch on Dallas for us?
Yeah, Doncic at 11K against the Timberwolves. Yeah, give it to me. I know you'll probably agree. You have to. It's your guy. It's your team. I just think it's a rock solid play. It's one of my favorite expensive plays. I'll pay up for it, no problem. Kristaps Porzingis at 8,000. I'll pay for him too against the Timberwolves. It's just a great matchup, and a little bit of a pricey salary for the guy, but I don't mind paying it in this matchup. And then the last guy I'll add is Maxi Kleber at 4,900. This guy's getting so many minutes. It's crazy. He hasn't really been producing a lot recently, but that production's just around the corner. He hits threes, he blocks shots, and I think he can do that here as well. So I think you can play a lot of these Mavericks guys. I don't mind playing Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't mind playing Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't mind playing any of these guys just because of the matchup here, but I am looking at the top guys mostly.
Yeah, it's just top dogs for me. And it's a weird situation because, in these types of matchups where I really do want to gravitate towards Luka. I love Luka. But we've found that, what I've noticed is when there is a big discrepancy, a big mismatch, they will take advantage of it with Porzingis, and they did so earlier in this season. So they're not really going to have an answer for Porzingis at power forward. I'm kind of curious exactly how they're going to do this, just the way he could spread the floor. And if they open the game with Vanderbilt and Towns, is it going to be Towns that's chasing him out of there and getting pulled out of the paint? I don't know. Vanderbilt, I doubt, can keep up with him. So we're going to have to see. He dropped 60 DK points in this matchup earlier. That is Porzingis. And when we saw Porzingis being really aggressive on offense, we saw Luka Doncic, still be Luka Doncic, but in a little bit more passive way. He managed to only put up about 40, I think it was like 42 DK points in 37 minutes, 9 of 22 shooting. But it was Porzingis that had the big game. Now, does that mean it's going to happen again? Absolutely not. It could very well be the other way around. Luka's having the 60 points. Porzingis is rocking with 40. One of these guys is going to explode, if not both. So I will have shares of both of them. And in the lineups where I want to spend up on some of these other guys in other games, I'll probably be Porzingis instead of Luka. I don't think I'll be going to any of the ancillary pieces. I don't mind Maxi Kleber, but to me, he's just kind of very, very PJ Tucker-ish. You touched on it. He doesn't necessarily blow up the box score. He can play 40 minutes, and you look at it, and you're like, okay, but but where's the production? And it comes in bunches. It's just, you're really playing fourth fiddle when you're playing next to Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic because, Doncic's got the usage worth of two people, and then Porzingis is still there. On the Minnesota side of the things, though, as we slide over to the other side of the ball, knowing that they're still without Russell, without Beasley, Anthony Edwards at 7,600, starting to get priced up, a little bit priced out of the point where I'm interested. He's still going to be taking tons of shot attempts every single night. It's just you're paying for that 36 to 38 point game, which you can produce, but there's other options I like on this slate a little bit more. And then Cat at 10K. We know Dallas can't defend a lick at the center position, so won't fault you there. But we just already touched on some other guys that I would be spending on over Karl Anthony Towns. So don't see myself going to too much on this side of the ball.
Yep, it'd be another pretty much hard fade for me. Actually, I keep taking Towns off and putting him back on my list, but because, like you said, the Mavs just can't guard the center position. So, and Towns has really gotten his legs under him. I think he put up almost 70 DK points in the recent game. So, I could see going there for GPPs, but yeah, I just have other options I like better. So, pretty much a hard fade for me on the Wolves.
All right, man. I like you. Same page. Makes life easy. And that's why we're cruising, man. I was worried about time initially. We're 40 minutes in, and we only got 3 games left. So, 11 games.
Yeah,
nothing.
No problem.
Nothing. LA Clippers traveling to San Antonio. This is an 8:30 Eastern Standard Time game. Patrick Beverley has been rolled out, as well as Serge Ibaka for the Spurs. Keita Bates-Diop, LaMarcus Aldridge out. Rudy Gay is questionable. Game total 220.5. Clippers favored by 5.5 points. It's pretty simple for me here. I'm going to just keep going back to the well on the same 3 guys I've been playing. And it's Paul George, Ivica Zubac, and it's Marcus Morris Sr. As long as Serge Ibaka is out, playing Zubac at 5,500, it's slowly going up there in price, but this dude's just churning out 30-point games left and right. The floor is there. If he plays more than 25, it gives you that ceiling. He's very Jonas Valanciunas-ish. They never really give him much more than 30, but if he ever does, it's a cherry on top, and we'll be happy with the 25 if he's playing him. Same thing with Marcus Morris Sr. As long as this guy continues to start, we can feel pretty confident, I think, in his floor of being around 25 and the ceiling if the shot's actually falling for him, upwards to 35. So both those guys, and I just prefer Paul George over Kawhi Leonard point per dollar. But, hey, if you want to play the narrative, Kawhi Leonard going back to San Antonio, I won't fault you there. It's definitely something that you can pay some attention to. At 9K, there's no reason why he doesn't just walk back into his old town and just rile off another 60 DK points like he did earlier in the season. He put up 56.8 in 37 minutes on 13 of 22 shooting. So I wouldn't fault you.
Yeah, it's always possible. But yeah, I like the $8,200 price tag for Paul George better myself also, and Marcus Morris Sr. I'm never on Zubac. I mean, I don't fault you for it. I think it's a great play. I think he's just solid and he's consistent, and I just never play him. I don't know why. It's just one of those guys. But the other guy I have on here actually is Terrence Mann, which may surprise some people. But $3,300 for this guy. I think he's a great, excellent salary saver here. He clearly has a role in the team recently. He's played 23 and 29 minutes in the last 2 games, and he helped them in that fourth quarter comeback against the Atlanta Hawks. So I was priced up a little bit after that one, but I like this guy as a GPP and a cash play. Actually, I just think he's got a solid role for that price tag that he's at at 3,300, and and I think also I was gonna. Lou Williams might be headed out of town. He hasn't had the best season, Lou Williams. So if that is true and he's actually on the trade block and they don't really want to risk getting him injured or something like that, I could see Terrence Mann getting some of his minutes as well. I'm not going to chase that Kennard game though, even though Kennard Dog had a huge game to get them back in the fourth quarter of the Hawks game. I'm not chasing that.
No, you can't. I can't do that either. They're another team in the running, supposedly for Lonzo Ball, trying to get a hold of him. So I don't know exactly how they would make that work, but they could try. On the Spurs side, DeMar DeRozan, 8,400. Another guy involved in trade rumors. Spurs said he is fully available for trade. Clearly, there's no real talks on either one of these teams, or team or player really wanting to spend too much time going forward in the future. But not somebody I'm interested in at 8,400. Not in this matchup. I will pass. If I'm looking anywhere, it's probably going to be at the point guard position. DeJounte Murray, 7,400. It's not the best price tag for him. Ever since DeMar DeRozan came back, a lot of that point guard usage was sapped up for him. But I just really like this one-on-one matchup for him. He put up about 40 DK points earlier in the season, 36 minutes on 9 of 18 shooting. I would expect somewhere between the 35 and 40 point range again. At 7,400, that's a fair price tag. Derek White at 5,800. The double-digit shot attempts have been there. It's just I don't mind it. I don't love it. I think that we have better options that will be available when push comes to shove, and those are the two main guys I'm looking at. If you wanted to look at Jakob Poeltl, would have fault you there. We know the Clippers are generally pretty weak at center, and if that's a position you want to attack, no fault to you. But I just actually prefer Zubats for $700 less. Two very similar type of players.
Yeah, I think that's probably where we defer, because I do have Poeltl on here, and I do like him against Zubac and no Serge Ibaka. So 6,200, I'll pay it for him. Again, not my favorite play. I do like Keldon Johnson at 5,900 also. It just seems like this guy's, if they're looking to the future, if they're looking to trade DeMar DeRozan, they're looking to change it up and get a new identity, then Keldon Johnson probably slots into one of the most prominent roles there for their team. So 5,900 for him, I'll play that gladly. And you touched on Derek White a little bit. I don't think I need to say much more, but I'm still waiting for this guy to really take off like we were all expecting in the preseason. Hasn't happened yet. I'm going to be there for it, so I've got him on my list.
All right, can't fault you there. And I'm waiting if DeRozan gets traded, I want to see some Vassell too. I'm excited about him. The Spurs has always managed to steal that one guy in the draft. It feels like maybe he fell a little bit further than he should have. Next game, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Brooklyn Nets traveling to Utah. Take on the block happy Jazz in this one. Obviously, we're going to have to monitor what is going on with the Nets. James Harden was game time decision coming into the night with that neck soreness. He ended up being available to play. So we'll have to monitor and see if he's going to be available the following night in Utah, see how that neck feels after the game. So no injury report for the Nets right now. For the Jazz, they are good to go. We're not going to have a game total for the exact reasons I just said, so keep an eye on that. We'll start off with this Brooklyn team. It's a little hard to break down. No, we already know that there's no Kyrie, that there's no Durant. So, if you want to play James Harden, if we have the availability at 10-9, fire him up. I'm not going to fault you there. I don't care about this matchup whatsoever. That does not scare me off of it. If James Harden's healthy enough to play 30-plus minutes and he's the only dog here taking these shot attempts, that's all I need to hear. Sign me up. 10-9. He'd be the stud I pay for. It's just that simple. I hope people get scared away from the questionable tag, the back-to-back, the Utah matchup. None of that really scares me away. I'm perfectly good with loading up some James Harden in this one. Outside of him, there's definitely going to be some of these other ancillary options, whether you want to go to Jeff Green at 4,400. Wouldn't fault you there. Blake Griffin at 51. He's probably one guy I might be a little bit more cautious on the second half of a back-to-back with, knowing that his minutes have been limited since he really applied, first came over to the team. Did dunk, though. Worth noting. Did dunk. So that's probably it for me. I'm probably just really going to limit myself to like James Harden. And normally I would be looking at Bruce Brown, but this isn't the matchup that I want to target too many Nets necessarily. Utah is still Utah. James Harden is just matchup proof. It's that simple.
Yeah, 10-9, James Harden all day, every day. You touched on it. Don't really need to say much more. So I'm right there with you. I like Joe Harris at 5,900. I'm constantly on this guy whenever Durant and Kyrie Irving are out. The shots have to go somewhere. He's going to have that big game at one point, and I'm going to be there for it, just like with Derek White. So I'll pay 5,900 for him. But anytime Kyrie Irving's out, the guy you have to look at is Bruce Brown, 4,700. So that's probably my favorite play outside of Harden on the Nets, and it's a good salary saver also. So he's just about that bargain price point at 4,700.
All right, I'll let you just lead us right into Utah, man. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, and for the Jazz, I got to go back to my guy Rudy Gobert. I actually was just taking a look as you were talking there at I had a little prop bet on Enes Kanter going over 11.5 points against these Nets, and they're playing tonight, and he's already got 13 points, and there's like 9 minutes left in the second quarter. So I love playing centers against the Nets, and Rudy Gobert 8,400. I'll pay that all day for sure. Just think he's gonna smash that. Joe Ingles at 5,800. Quietly, this guy has been just a sharpshooter the last 3 games. He's been shooting over 70%, which is just insane. I don't know if he keeps it up, but it's a Nets defense, so there's a good chance he does. And 5,800 is a great price point for him. And then I'm going to throw in, just because the pace is up there for these Jazz players, I'm going to throw in Royce O'Neal, who's usually filler for my lineup, but at 4,600, I think he's a little bit better than filler, just because of, like I said, he's paced up. They're going to be paced up, so all the stats get magnified. And so I'll throw him in there at 4,600 for filler for your lineup. I'm not necessarily reaching for him.
I won't argue against any Jazz play. I mean, it's just an up-paced tempo. We know that Brooklyn, they're going to bleed points regardless, and they're going to be even worse. I mean, I'm not saying that Kyrie Irving is necessarily an all-class defender or anything, but the less bodies they have, the harder that James Harden is going to have to work just to keep this going, and they're going to be able to key in on him a little bit more. I don't mind taking stabs at any one of these guys. Mitchell's a little priced out of my liking, but again, it's Donovan Mitchell in this matchup. If they want to go back and forth, they can go back and forth. He could put in 40 real-life points in this game. Wouldn't shock me in the least. Gobert would be my top option, though. I'm with you. Centers against the Nets, I feel like that's a thing that we've been targeting for about 3 seasons now, and it's not going away anytime soon. Not unless they just make one of these all big free agent signings. Even then, we're not afraid of attacking guys like Whiteside and Andre Drummond necessarily either. I don't mind looking at one of these other backcourt guys between Conley and Clarkson. I think they're both priced appropriately. Around that 6K mark leaves them a little bit of juice on the bone over there. So I wouldn't be shocked if either one of those guys turns out a 30 to 40 DK point game. They're just not primary targets of mine. But again, going against Brooklyn, you got to get a pace bump in there.
Absolutely.
One last game, my good friend.
Oh, yes.
10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Before we jump into it, just a quick shout out to our presenting sponsor, Manscaped. Guys, check them out. If you haven't already, head over to manscaped.com for all of your male grooming needs, whether it's for you, a friend, spouse, maybe it's your travel kit. Always the travel kit. They got your help over there, guys. Manscaped has a lovely line of products. My favorite being the Lawnmower 3.0. It is a fantastic razor when I tell you this, guys. It quick charges. It is waterproof. You can charge that whole thing up in about 40 minutes. And that thing will last you probably about a good 6 to 8 hours. And I'm just speaking off of personal preference. I'm not reading the box here. It's something I use on a weekly basis, guys. Fantastic product. And best part, no nicks, no cuts. The most important thing that you need when you're male grooming needs. So, guys, check out the Lawnmower 3.0. And if that's not your stick, they have everything else you need for all of your male grooming needs, including toner, conditioner, body wash, body sprays, aftershave, you name it. Ear and nose hair trimmer, guys. If you head over there, use that promo code HoopBall20, you get 20% off plus free shipping on your entire purchase. Guys, that's promo code HoopBall20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Final game of the night, Atlanta Hawks going against the Sacramento Kings. This is a game that we're probably pretty interested in ending it on, man. I mean, we talked about a lot of bad games. This is one that we're kind of happy about ending it on. Chris Dunn has been ruled out, as well as Cam Reddish for the Hawks. Danilo Gallinari is questionable. For the Kings, Marvin Bagley is out dealing with that left hand fracture, and he is not going to be a Piston. That we know. And speaking of broken wrist due to Jonas Valanciunas, Metu is questionable. How's that for timing after I just mentioned that? Did not even see that coming. Did not plan it. Funny. But 236.5 game total, the largest on the night that we've mentioned so far. -3 for Atlanta being favored over this one. I'll pass it over to you. Start about this Hawks team. And Trae Young at 8,700. Is that the cheapest he's been all year?
I don't know, but I'm willing to pay it. I'm willing to pay it in this game. I think this game definitely. You mentioned it has the potential, and it's probably going to end up being the highest game total of the night. So this is the one that we're going to probably want to target and stack if we were to stack any of these games. And Trae Young at 8,700. Yeah, I'll pay that. And he's probably going to hit value, and always has that ceiling where he can really surpass that value very easily. Clint Capella at 7,300. I got a lot of interest in him as well. I don't think the Kings have Hassan Whiteside, but they don't play him more than 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe they do here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just think Capella is going to eat and price tag that I'm willing to pay for the guy. He's had some big games this season, and he could have another one here, I think. And then the other guy I'm going to add here, and we're going to look out for the news on Danilo Gallinari, but Bogdanovic at 4,000. I love him for GPPs, and if Gallo's going to be out, I'll love him for cash also. The wing situation in Atlanta has been a little hit or miss, and I know DeAndre Hunter's back, but if Gallo's out, that's going to open up more minutes for this guy. So 4,000 is a pretty fair price to pay for him, in my opinion.
Ooh, if Gallo's out, if Gallo's in, I'm playing this guy. Revenge. Revenge. Oh, yeah. Never got his shot. He fell in Sacramento, got pushed out. He wanted to leave anyway, but yeah, I definitely have some interest. I see him getting up a little bit for this game. 4K. Great price tag for a guy that's going to be taking some high-volume shot attempts. If Danilo Gallinari is rolled out, it's only a bonus. And then you touched on Trae Young, 8,700. Won't fault you there. Fantastic price tag. Put up 45 DK points in this matchup earlier in the season. Can easily do that here, if not more. And then looking at this front court, if I'm playing John Collins, he's a guy that's getting his name mentioned in trade rumors. Very similar situation to Lauri Markkanen, where they couldn't come to contract terms. Writings on the wall. He's probably going to sign to somewhere next season. So just play him in your utility spot. That way, this is a 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Worst comes to worst, you hear that he gets late scratched. You can make that quick swap, play Capella. You have yourself an out. So just keep an eye on any of these guys that are being involved in trade rumors that you might be worried that they might get scratched. Just leave yourself an out with those guys. Have a backup plan is what I'm saying. So don't mind looking at them, but just make sure you have that plan. If I had to play one of these guys, it would be Capella. You touched on it. Sacramento can't defend a lick at center. Not saying anything bad about Rashawn Holmes. He's been absolutely fantastic. But they're still giving up a pretty good amount of points to center. So I just get a little worried about these minutes. 29 minutes seems like it's the most that he's been able to play over the past few games. And, does he get that there? He could, but a heel. Yeah, I'll keep him in my player pool. I'll keep him in there. It's just such a great matchup, and we know that Capella could turn out a 20-20 game in this one pretty easily if he gets 30+. On the Sacramento side of things, though, who are you looking at over here? De'Aaron Fox at 9K. Do you prefer him or Trae Young?
That's a good question. I prefer Fox. I just think I prefer. Let me put it this way. I prefer Fox for cash. I prefer Young for GPPs. I think Young probably has a higher ceiling, just ever so slightly than Fox. But Fox is just he's just been on a tear. So I don't mind paying 9K for this guy against the lackluster Atlanta Hawks defense. But my favorite play is actually Tyrese Halliburton at 5,700. This guy got, I think, 36 minutes last game, and if you're going to get 36 minutes of Hallie for 5,700, sign me up all day, man. That's money right there. So this guy's got to be a lock for me if that's what he's going to get, and it's looking like that's probably will be his workload. And then the other guy I'm looking at would be Hassan Whiteside at 4,100. This is just for DPPs, and this is just assuming that maybe John Collins or Clint Capella is going off, and they need to get a big body in there to guard these guys. Whiteside's really the only option for him. So 4,100, I'll go there for GPPs. I'm not going there at all for cash, though.
I think the Halliburton call is the one I agree with completely. I'm not really playing anybody else in the Kings. I don't mind Fox whatsoever. Obviously, I think you said that perfectly. Fox makes a little bit more sense in cash, but we know Trae Young probably possesses that little bit of a higher ceiling, just knowing we've seen this dude just shoot the lights out of a gym before. So don't mind looking at him, but I'm really going to be going to Halliburton. I was all over him in that last game. We saw that this minutes limit was going to get lifted. They were talking about it. They mentioned it. It did. It's at 36. He's the starting two guard now that Marvin Bagley's out of the lineup. That's not going anywhere. They already announced it going forward. Even that's it. He's our starting shooting guard. Expect high usage. Expect this guy to be a prominent part of this offense. He may be a rookie, but he feels like he's one of the most polished and experienced rookies to come into the NBA in quite some time. This dude just looks like a professional. Has a great outside shot, great basketball IQ. He's great defensively. Really excited about it. I don't know if I talked highly enough about Tyrese Halliburton, but I'm a big fan. He was my favorite player coming out of this draft. Really, really impressed by what I've seen so far. But that is it, my friend. That rounds us out. That brings us home. That is all 11 games in just under an hour. But we can't take off just yet. We got our player tiers. So I'll let you lead off. Why don't you give me your favorite expensive player that you're going to be touching on tonight?
Well, I am going to go ahead and steal James before you get a chance to, because like you said, he is just rock solid, man. I can't really go wrong with him. So I need a win, and if I need a win, I'm going James Harden in real life and in DFS. So as long as he's healthy and playing, and the other two top dogs, Brooklyn, are out, fire this guy up in GPPs, fire him up in cash, fire him up everywhere. Just rock solid. So Harden.
I can't fault you there, man. That's exactly where I was going to go. Since you did take my Harden, I mean, the easy cop out would just be Luka. And I feel like I might just take the easy cop out because, I mean, those are the only two guys, I guess, over 10K I'm really playing on this slate. And I would say, for the most part, probably even over 9. I mean, I'm going to sprinkle some Fox and some Leonard. But I'll probably have more Luka when push comes to shove than I will have Fox and Leonard. So I got to be a man of my convictions and my words. So I'll say Luka. When push comes to shove, I know that's probably where the majority of my ownership is going to go compared to some of these other high-priced guys. But we'll slide down to the mid-tier, which is about 7,500 or less. So who are you looking at around that price tag? Let's say between 5 and 7,500.
I'm going to leave the guy that I think you're going to choose to you this time, and I'll go ahead. I'll snag Joe Ingles, actually, 5,800. I love Joe here. He's just been the hottest shooter in the NBA, and no one really cares about it. No one's really talking at all about it. But he's shot 70% or better from the field in 3 straight games, and this could be the 4th game he does it against the Nets' just weak defense. So I think you roll him out there in all formats, and I think he's just a safe play at 5,800.
So I'm gonna go ahead and assume you think I'm going to say Halliburton.
Yeah, I would assume that. Yes.
Yeah, it's a fair assumption, man. I can't fault you there. Yeah, I'll probably leave with my boy Halliburton with the caveat of believe it or not, I might have more McConnell if we hear that Brogdon's rolled out a very similar price tag. So I did the same thing the other night with Marcus Smart and Halliburton at the same price tag. I actually had both of those guys in most of my lineups, and I might do it again with McConnell. And Halliburton, both those guys, very similar price tags, like both of them. Just need the news from McConnell. Halliburton, we know we're good to go. We can fire him right up. So, value tier, my good friend. So, under 5K, some of the value plays, we've talked about a few of them in that 4K range, but who you really gravitating towards?
Under 5K. I think we usually say under 4,200, and so that's why I have to.
Oh, let's do under 42. Yeah, I like it better. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Under 42. So under 42, it's a little rough, and that's so you were saying under 5K. I was getting a little greedy there. I was like, I can look at some of these guys. Under 42 though is a little rough. I don't like too many people under that price range. So my guy that I'm looking at there is Terrence Mann at 3,300. And I said it before. He's got a prominent role in the offense or on the team now with the Clippers. And I think I really think that Lou Williams' time is coming to an end, which is unfortunate for basketball, but all good things must come to an end. And so I think Terrence Mann's the guy that's stepping into that role mostly, and I like him at 3,300. I think it's a really great price tag.
All right. I don't mind that one. I actually thought you were going to go with the other two guys that we both liked at 4K, which was Grayson Allen and Bogdanovich. So
Allen would have been the other one.
Yeah. I think all three of them are great plays. You can't go wrong with all three of them. Terrence Mann is definitely a little sneakier than the other two. I definitely think he's probably going to be a lower owned guy that we could definitely get an edge with if he has one of those blow up games. And those big rebounding games aren't a mistake by Terrence Mann. He is a rebounding guard. He's good at that. Excuse me. So yeah, I'll look at if I have to pick one of these guys, I'll go with Bogdanovich because I like narratives and I like the sexy upside. I like the game total. I like everything else surrounding it. So I'll lean Bogdanovich at 4K as my value play that I'll be locking in. So. Boom, there we have it. That is our player tier. So thank you guys for listening. Always a pleasure. Whether you're a first-time listener or a long-time listener, means the world to us every time you guys tune in. And if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you may be listening to this. And if you could, and if you want, screenshot that bad boy. Screenshot that 5-star review in your comment. Tag any one of the Hoopball DFS team over here on Twitter. Or even Dan Vespris, and you'll be entered into a drawing for a free Fantasy Pass membership over here. So if you're wondering what that does, you can head over to Hoop-Ball, check it out. But I'll give you a quick synopsis. It gives you access to all of the behind-the-paywall stuff, including our Discord live chat with a lot of our experts, one that Keith just straight dominates every night and hands out just money-winning advice in. So check it out, guys. Screenshot it, tag us, get entered for a free Fantasy Pass. And then follow us on Twitter. You can find me at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. You can find Keith at Ginsberg Beats, G1NSBERGB3ATS. That is it. So, Keith, anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Nah, man, let's go get that money.
Let's go get that money. I agree. The money will be be had. I think that's the way to say it. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be on here at Santino. We know that'll go off the rails. Have a good night.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.